Hello and welcome to this presentation on emotional intelligence and specifically the aspect of self-awareness. My name is Jeff Mobley, and for the next few minutes we'll be investigating self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Well, self-awareness is awareness of a few things that a leader needs to have a grip on in order to be effective as a leader. Those things include the emotions, the values, and the strengths and weaknesses of the individual. All of those things go into or make up what is self-awareness. So, to define self-awareness, self-awareness starts out with understanding how you respond emotionally to events and situations, according to Burke and Barron. In other words, knowing how you feel in any given situation as things change, as situations change, as you react to other people's decisions, as you react to uh, negative outcomes. How do you feel emotionally? How do you respond emotionally? That is one component. That's the emotional component of self-awareness. What is going on in my feelings as things are going on around me? Secondly, self-awareness is understanding who you are, what you value, and the consequences of your actions, according to Caldwell and Hayes. In other words, what are the things that are important to you that you desire to live out, and who are you in regards to those values, and what are the consequences of your actions? How faithfully do you live out those values in front of the people that you lead? That's the values aspect of self-awareness. What are the things that are important to me, and how do I live those out? What are the consequences of my actions as I live out my values? And then thirdly, self-awareness is understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, and the impact that you have on others. What are you good at? Where are you deficient? And how do those things have impact on people around you? How do you build your team with regard to your strengths and weaknesses? If you fill your team with people who share your strengths but don't shore up your weaknesses, your team is going to be deficient. You need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are so that you can identify those things in others that can help you as a leader. So self-awareness is understanding all of these three components about yourself: your emotions, what you feel; your values, uh, what you live out, what you believe, what are your core values; and then your strengths and weaknesses. Where are you limited, and where are you strong, and how can you build on those things and use those things to lead? Somebody who is self-aware, a leader who is self-aware, has a grasp on all three of these aspects of their person. Why is self-awareness important? Well, self-awareness has several consequences for a leader. Number one is self-awareness produces or makes a leader who is reflective rather than impulsive. In other words, a self-aware leader takes the time to think about, again, how they're feeling in any given moment. What do they value, and how would that value drive their response, and how will that response lead to consequences? And what are the strengths and weaknesses that I have as a leader, and how do those apply to the current situation? A self-aware leader is more reflective. A leader who lacks self-awareness is impulsive. They just act or react impulsively in the moment without thinking. Secondly, if we're aware of our emotions as a leader, then we can change those emotions if they're not appropriate. In other words, let's say, for example, a situation makes me angry, but anger is not the appropriate emotional response to the situation. If I'm aware of my anger, then I can change that anger so that I can respond appropriately, rather than, again, going back to being impulsive, snapping out, reacting angrily without knowing where that anger is coming from or even that it's there. Third, a self-aware leader can avoid self-deception, or self-awareness produces a leader who can avoid self-deception. In other words, we are not, as a leaders deceived about who we are and what we can do. Because we're self-aware, we know our strengths and weaknesses, we know our emotions and we know our values, then we are fully cognizant of who we are as people and what our limitations are and can act within those limitations. Otherwise, we're self-deceived into thinking we have maybe abilities and strengths that we don't have, or we can do things that we really can't do. And then lastly, self-awareness is important because it creates a leader who can demonstrate high empathy and are more effective in dealing with others. And it's kind of a summary of those other three consequences of self-awareness above. And then lastly, how can self-awareness be developed? It can be developed through self-reflection, taking time out to pause and look inward for personal growth. This could be meditation, mindfulness. This could be just stopping and getting a pen and a journal and writing out those core values or those strengths and weaknesses, or really examining yourself to understand your own emotions and who you are as a person. It can be developed through career coaching, somebody who is intentional about helping you add clarity to your reflection and helping you to hone that reflection into yourself in the context of your career. And then finally, feedback, getting feedback from your subordinates, your peers, and from other managers about those strengths and weaknesses, about those values, noticing those emotions when they come up. Feedback can help you become more aware if you're open to accepting what others have to say about you. With that, I want to end this presentation and say thank you. If you have any questions or feedback for me, my email is there on the screen. I appreciate your time and look forward to working with you more in the future. Here are some references for your edification and further study.